Bum, bum, bum. This camera's a little off, but I'm just rolling with it right now. It's been a frustrating day. Welcome back to .NET Phils. I do apologize for the lack of content recently. Life has been a little crazy, but should be back on schedule as of this week. Should everything, God willing, everything is good and grand. It's been a lot of craziness going on. Ashlyn and her family moved, so I've been there a lot helping out. And hopefully, like I believe I mentioned in the last episode that now that she kind of has her own space, I'll be able to record while I'm there because usually I don't because I don't have the necessary not that I can't bring my equipment because we saw on the 1 year live stream that I just did it from her room, but it's just a matter of having the space to do it. And now that she kind of has her own little area, I believe I can start recording there if need be. So we have that to look forward to. And in today's episode, a little light episode. There's not a lot of headlines to go over. We'll go over the series against the Brewers. The Phillies lost 2 out of 3, which sucks. They should have had 2 out of 3, but we'll talk about that. We have remember him, and then wrapping up with the series preview against the San Diego Padres, the San Diego Dads. To get started, the big headline is Christian Pache and Ranger Suarez are active because we saw them today. Ranger only went a few innings, and Pache had 2 walks in today's game, so it was pretty productive from both of them. Ranger obviously struggled with his command a little bit, but that's to be expected when a guy hasn't thrown to big league hitters in a while. So I'm not necessarily worried about Ranger. So especially with the emergence of Chris Sanchez, who is Ranger 2.0. So I'm good to have them back. And in personal news, I started a blog. Oh, you and every other dickhead baseball, whatever. I don't care. More content for you gremlins. The link is going to be right down in the description below of this episode. I decided to start writing a little more. I did go to school for journalism, so it's kind of in my powerhouse and my wheelhouse. What I'm going to be doing is after almost every game, bearing if I remember how pissed off I am, I will be writing a live react, writing exactly how I'm feeling, an overview of the game, in certain situations, how the game went and everything like that to hopefully just get, more content out to you guys and more of a written direct, like this is how I'm feeling right in this moment. And then in these, obviously I go over everything. So the link is right down below. I already wrote an article about Aaron Nola's start last night, and an article will be published later on tonight talking about today's game. So look forward to that. And, what I'll be doing is, this is more of an off-season thing. I'll be writing as well as producing these episodes. What I'll be doing is basically, say, ranking top 5 players of the season. I'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then all the written stuff. So if you guys want to read everything, it'll be a little more in depth than me just riffing off the mount, off cuff here. It will be a little more in depth, saying, Jeff Hoffman was a top 5 player for the Phillies because he had, this ERA, and it'll be a lot more in depth compared to what I would do on here. So look, if you guys want to give that a read, go right ahead. And the website is a little ugly right now. I do apologize. I'm working on updating it. You can't. Rome wasn't built in a day, and obviously, if we go back to what I used to do before I was on YouTube or anything, going on Instagram and doing before I had a headset and a proper camera and a set, and stuff takes time. So be patient with the design, but the content is all going to be the same. So if you guys want to check that out, that is right down below in the description. So go ahead and see if I'm actually a good writer and was the $50,000 of student debt worth it. You tell me. You tell me. I love this jacket. It's kind of like a bomber kind of thing. As I hit the mic with my hat. Ashlyn's stepdad gave it to me, and I love it. I dig it. You know, it's kind of chilling. It's a little big. It's cozy, especially those long October days when the Phils will be in the playoffs. Phils, how I should have looked this up beforehand, but how many games now that the Phillies kind of went on a bit of a stinker? How many games are they up in the wild card? I think this would be something I came prepared with, but silly me. I just got off of an 8.5 hour shift. Give me a break here. Oh, dude, still 5 games up in the wild card. Come on. Luckily, everybody else sucked. Oh, I did not think they would still be 5 games up. Oh, go Phils. Go freaking Phils. Like, come on now. 5 games up still, and they lost 3 straight. Like, seriously? Come on. Any Hoosers, to the Milwaukee Brewers series, which I want to say off the riff, yes, the Phillies lost the series. I have no idea how the Milwaukee Brewers are as good as they are, because look at that look at that team on paper, that offense, I should say. Their pitching, their bullpen and rotation is disgusting. You have the three-headed monster of Corbin Burns, Brandon Woodruff, and Freddie Peralta mixed in with what Wade Miley's been able to do. And that fifth starter spot, occupied by Colin Reeves, kind of been a little shaky, but they have that three-headed monster, and then their bullpen is just guy after guy after guy after guy. We actually touched up Devin Williams in the 2 losses, ironically enough, in this series, but no idea how that offense is good. Mark Canha is the new Philly killer. I hate Mark Canha. I hated him when he was on the Mets. Carlos Santana, of course, he destroyed us in this series because, of course, believe it or not, Christian Yelich really didn't kill us other than other than the Aaron Nola game. But it's just, I mean, come on, Willie Adames. Who else is on that? Willie Adames, Tyrone Taylor, Bryce Terang. Like, these guys aren't good, but they are. Shout out to Craig Counsell because he's getting the best out of these guys. But game one, Phillies lost 7-5. My player of shame, I think it's very obvious, is Alec Boehm making that costly error in the seventh. But the game looked good. I mean, you had Schwarber leading off with a homer. Zach Wheeler looked to continue his dominance in the second half, and for the most part, he did surrender a 3-run home run to Willie Adames in the third inning, or excuse me, in the fourth inning to make it 3-1. And then Marsh was able to add on with a single to make it 3-2. And then Trey Turner, his turnaround, no pun intended, has been unreal, and I feel like it's just beating a dead horse at this point. So I won't harp on it as much as I should, because at this point it's just redundant. Like, yes, the standing ovation happened and Trey Turner immediately turned around his season, and it's been great to see. It's WBC Trey Turner. It's the Trey Turner we thought we were signing. It's been great. Hits a 3-run home run off of Devin Williams to give the Phils a 5-3 lead, and then we get to the 8th inning. Phillies bring in Jose Alvarado, who has been one of the, if not, who I won't even say if not, because he's been injured a lot this year. He's been one of the best relievers in baseball for over a year now. He just couldn't find the strike zone, walked a couple guys, and load the bases up with one down after that, big dramatic home run, and then you bring in Jeff Hoffman, who. Again, it's like beating a dead horse at this point, but Jeff Hoffman has been incredible for you for the Phils, and did his job, get the first out, and then the roller over to third, and boom. Looking at the replay, looks like he tried to get to third base as opposed to scooping it and trying to get a throw off. And the ball just skipped right under his glove and cleared the bases to give Milwaukee a 7-5 lead, a lead in which they would keep. Yeah, it sucked. I was watching it at Ashland's, and Trey Turner hits a home run, and she's in an in-law suite, and I'm like, let's go, like, suck it, Devin Williams, like, the Phillies own you guys, like, oh, Eden, all cocky and everything, and she has, you guys saw on the live stream, she has the little black lab Tater, and Tater was like looking at me, and she's like, "You better come over here and apologize to this dog right now." And I came over and I pet him because I was just so like amped up. I'm like, "Let's go!" And then we went. There's a pizza place like 3 minutes down the road from her, so we went and we got it. We got the pizza. We came back, and I look, and Jeff Hoffman's in the game, and the bases are loaded, and I'm like, "What happened? Dear God, what happened?" Uh, and like I said, Hoffman did his job. He should have been out of that inning unscathed. And, obviously hindsight's 2020. If you were, and I'm not in that moment, and it's so much easier to pick apart a play like that as an analyst, as a journalist, as a podcaster or whoever, as a fan. It's so much easier to be like, well, why didn't you just stay behind the ball and throw the runner out? Like, in that moment, the best thing for Bohm to do was to get the third because you had a fast runner going over, and, I'm not saying he made the wrong decision. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I'm not saying he made the wrong decision. I'm saying it was annoying it happened the way it did because the whole narrative around Alec Bohm is that he's not a good fielder, and he's completely squashed all of those rumors about him. And it's such an old, tired take that Alec Bohm is a terrible defensive player, because if you watch him on a night in and night out basis, he has improved drastically. I'm not saying he's Nolan Arenado out there, but I'm saying that he is without a doubt not a reliability out there like he used to back in his rookie and sophomore seasons. Like, he has been phenomenal defensively. And of course, in the biggest stage, in a big moment, he does this. And now that narrative is back that Alec Bohm can't play third base. And, oh, I thought Alec Bohm was a great defensive player. He makes that play 9 times out of 10. We've seen him make that play. We've seen him do all of that stuff. And it's just frustrating that it happened. But I'm not blaming him for that, because even the best defenders have bad days. We saw it in the National League Wild Card Series last year with the Phillies and the Cardinals. Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt both botched plays. It happens. It's a frustrating, annoying loss for sure, yes, and I was really upset in the moment, but that's just me being me. As a fan, like, I know Alec Bohm can make that play. It's not like it's freaking Kyle Schwarber running down a fly ball and he botches it, and like, oh yeah, I expect that because Kyle Schwarber sucks defensively. Like, the thing is with Alec Bohm is he's been so fantastic for so long defensively and offensively. I mean, this has been a huge year for him, and it just sucks. It sucks that that happened, but I'm not worried about it at all, especially because of what he did today. You look at, if even if he, you know, stays back on it, tries to get the runner out at first and isn't, the Phillies still have a 1-run lead, and who knows what happens with the next at bat? Like, who knows? Who knows, but it was just annoying and frustrating, but it's what it is. You look, you swallow it, you move on. And that's that. And then we get to game two. And my player, if Phillies again lose 7-5, ironically enough. And my player of shame, Aaron Nola. Shocking. Aaron Nola doo-dooed the bed against a tough opponent in a big spot. Big shocker. And I wrote in the article, if you want to read that, shame on me for believing in Aaron Nola again. I can't do it with him anymore. I thought he turned the corner. Clearly he didn't. 4 2/3, 8 hits, 7 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. Pathetic. Finally gets tested, and he does this. So again, I'm done with Aaron Nola. Smell you later, guy. I'm done with him. I'm done with him. I can't stand him. He's a loser. I don't care what his advancement. Oh, well, he's been this valuable. I don't care. He sucks. Aaron Nola has been so awful this year. It's like 2009 Cole Hamels on freaking steroids with this guy. I can't do it anymore. I'm done with Aaron Nola. You have Schwarber and JT going yard in the first and second inning, give you a 2-0 lead, and then you dookie the bed in the second. Bryce Terang, Tyrone Taylor, and Christian Yelich all tax you for runs. And then Carlos Santana in the fifth to make it 5-2. Mark Canna in the fifth, and Bryce Terang again in the fifth to make it 7-2. You, I, it's the same old song and dance. It's the same old song and dance with Aaron Nola. As soon as one thing goes wrong, it just snowballs. He doesn't have the ability to just hunker down and work out of jams. He doesn't this year, and it's whatever. But I'm not giving Aaron Nola a single cent this offseason. Have fun in Baltimore, buddy. Have fun in, I don't know, feels like the Angels might try to sign him because that's just what the Angels do, is too little, too late, and sign the wrong guys. So yeah, go ahead and see in Anaheim, Aaron. Have fun learning Japanese because I cannot stand him. I loathe him. But if there's one thing I can say about the Phils, is they don't go down without a fight. We've seen it all year, but particularly during this run, we saw it in Game 3 of the Angels series. We saw it in Game 1. We saw it tonight. Or excuse me, we saw it last night. We saw it tonight. This team doesn't quit. Casty had a sac fly. Turner with another homer in the sixth. Schwarber with an infield single in the ninth, but then obviously the Phillies came up short. But this team doesn't quit, man. Like they are clawing and scratching and making sure, like, hey, like, yeah, the pitcher didn't have us today, but we're gonna work like hell as a team. Oh my god, we're gonna work like hell as a team to fight back and pick our guys up. And they don't quit, man. Like they just come from behind and fight. That's why they call it. They're talking about the Titans here, baby. The Titans. Yeah, it was just a solid, like, yeah, annoying loss, but they fought back, and you got to be happy with that, especially because this is a tough pitching staff that they went against in Milwaukee, and they taxed them for 5 runs in game 1, 5 runs in game 2, and 4 runs in game 3. Like you got to be happy with that, especially because they're hot. And I think they were like averaging 3 runs allowed a game, and they were able to tack on here, but it's what it is. Sir Anthony Dominguez looked dominant, struck out the side, and the lockdown closer, Dylan Covey, with an inning. Bellotti had to pick up Aaron Nola's mess and looked fine. I just, yeah, it was a frustrating loss. But again, it's a loss that I expected because Aaron Nola cannot be trusted unless I see him leave the mound after like 7 dominant innings. Even if he has like 5 dominant innings, I'm like, when's it going to go bad? When is Aaron Nola going to dookie the bed? In this instance, it was the second inning. He saved this time, everybody. Saved this time and didn't dookie the bed until the 7th inning. So thanks, Aaron. Way to really pick up your guys. And then we get to today's game. Phillies won 4-2. They salvaged the series. My players of the game, JT Realmuto and Alec Bohm, they really put a jolt into this team when they needed it the most. Because, you had Ranger, only 4 innings, 5 hits, 2 earned runs, 2 walks, 5 strikeouts, struggled with command a lot. Which, again, I'm not particularly worried yet about Ranger. We saw this before he went on the IL a little bit, but I'm giving him a longer leash here because he hasn't pitched to live hitters in a while. So I'm kind of leaning off of getting on him a little bit. But, William Contreras and Mark Canna both had solo home runs in the first and third. Suarez working out of trouble in the third. Again, he just couldn't locate, and it seems like he was overthinking. And I feel like, if this makes sense, Ranger Suarez is a thrower, not a pitcher. He just throws his stuff and says if he can hit it, great. If not, good luck. And I feel like he's trying to pitch more than throw. And I know that sounds contradictive, but it just makes sense for Ranger Suarez to be a thrower because here it is, hit it if he can, hit it if he can, hit it if he can. And he hasn't been like that. I don't know why. I don't know if he's just, I don't know. I don't know. The enigma of Ranger Suarez carries on, but the Phillies were no hit through 5 until Trey Turner breaks that up in the 6th, and that leads to a Castellanos RBI double to make it 2-1. So the Phillies are alive. They're within striking distance. The bullpen is doing their job. Hoffman, Dominguez, Strom, Alvarado, and Kimbrel all locked down the end of the game. Didn't allow a single run. Strom thought about it in the seventh. He definitely thought about it. But alas, the Phillies persevered. Then we get to the seventh. Bohm and JT back to back home runs to give the Phils the lead, and then Trey with an RBI single to give it the 4-2. You then had Strom walk the first two guys in the seventh, which I'm like, oh, there we go. Here we go again. Another backbreaking bullpen implosion, but luckily he's able to work out of it. And then Alvarado redemption and Kimbrel looked like himself again after a few days of rest, which is huge, 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 huge win for the Phils, huge win for the bullpen. And the Phils are still 5 games up. I know even myself thought they were like 2 at this point. They are still 5 games up because luckily, shout out to the Cincinnati Reds for holding down the Cubbies, and shout out to all the other teams in the wild card losing, because the Phils still are 5 games up in the National League wild card. So they're still in a very, very good position. So it would have been great to win that first game, but it's not the end of the world. So annoying series for sure, but still we're fine. Like, it was an annoying series, sure, but we're good. We're fine. We're still 5 games up. Should have taken 2 out of 3, but you salvaged the series. You didn't get swept, and that was huge, especially because the Cubs won today, so that would have been a disaster. But some of my keynotes, Gregory Soto has looked better in his past few outings, which is going to be huge for this bullpen, especially if Alvarado continues to be so off and on. Sir Anthony, I mentioned, looks like himself again. So getting that 4-headed monster really back in the bullpen with Kimbrel, Soto, Sir Anthony, and Alvarado will be huge down this stretch run in September against the Padres. You have the Padres, Marlins, Braves, Mets, Pirates, Mets. I know there's a Cardinal series in there, so it's not going to be easy. So getting those guys back to being who they are is going to be huge, and a lot of it relies on the starters going deep. I feel like the starters haven't been going as deep as they were during during August. So hopefully, you get Walker to give you 7 innings tomorrow. Lorenzen hopefully can bounce back after a few iffy starts. Zach Wheeler, I trust to go deep into games. So it'll be interesting to see how that bullpen shapes out. Hopefully Strom can give you a little more length. And again, why Dylan Covey has a roster spot still, I have no idea. I get why you have to have people for cleanup duty, but for God's sakes, have Andrew Bellotti do that. Like, you could have another piece in there. I mean, again, I don't know who, but you could have traded for somebody. Ronaldo Lopez was available. You could have called Pittsburgh about Bednar. That would have costed you so much. But can you imagine if this team had David Bednar? Anyway, Harper has cooled off significantly, went hitless in the series, went 0 for 12. So I don't know if they're going to give him an off day tomorrow. I don't know if it was just tough pitching, but yeah, went 0 for 12. And Kyle Schwarber, he's out of the 180s, everybody. He's at 190. Can we get to 200? Probably not. But Kyle Schwarber, best leadoff hitter in baseball. Come on. Are you with a wall? Mark Canna's a dork. That was my final keynote. Hate Mark Canna. See you in hell, buddy. And that was also, see you in hell, Aaron Nola was my other note. I just got to check something really quick. Yeah, I'll see you in hell, Aaron Nola, you absolute buffoon, you absolute bum of a human being. I want to make sure I have those pictures right. I think I do. Anyway, that's the series against the Milwaukee Brewers. And now we are moving on to everybody's favorite reskin of the last show. I don't have a theme for this. Remember him? Remember him? This is a series where I look back at some Phillies pitchers that have graced us over the past decade plus. just because why not? It gives you great immaculate grid stuff, and I think it's a fun segment. So get over it. Anyway, I got a guy who, oh God, thought he was going to be the next coming of Christ after his first start with the Phillies. A guy who was compared to Cliff Lee, and a guy who works at a school now. And I think everybody knows who I'm talking about, at least for the first two. The third guy, maybe not. But my first guy played left field for the Phils, raked as a pitcher, has an outfield assist to his name. I, of course, am talking about Vince Velasquez, Vinny Velo. Vinny Velo was drafted by the Houston Astros in the second round of the 2010 MLB draft. Features a fastball, slider, changeup, sinker, curveball. Made his major league debut June 10th, 2015. Only spent 1 year with the Astros. 19 games, 7 starts, 55 and 2/3 to a 7.3, or excuse me, a 4.37 ERA. In the 2015 offseason, the Phillies and Astros made a trade. The Phillies got Vince Velasquez, Mark Appel, Thomas Eshelman, Harold Uraz, and Brent Oberholzer in exchange for Jonathan Uraz and Ken Giles. Now, this, Vinny Velo spent 2016 to 2021 with the Phillies, 133 games, 116 starts, 582 and 2/3 to a 4.93 ERA. God, he was terrible. Vince Velasquez was so infuriating to watch on a night in, night out basis, but he provided some cool moments. Had the left field game against the Chicago White Sox, had diving catch, the outfield assist, had the throw against the Nationals to get, I think it was Adam Eaton out after a liner hit him to start the game. But it was like he always had the stuff. Just teams would tee it up, man. He was just sucked, and I'll never forgive him for the 19-11 game in Miami. You hear me, Vince? I'll never forgive you for that. But Vince, if you want to come on the pod and talk, I'll reach out to Vince Velasquez in the offseason. He's probably not busy. I am going to try to actually get like players on if I can. I feel like one thing I always say I want to, but then never follow through. So something I definitely want to do is try to get some of these guys on. Like I feel like if I DM Vince Velasquez, maybe he'll come on. Again, my white whale is Garrett Stubbs. I want to look at like older random players that like I feel like I could get Brandon Workman on here. Like, would you guys want to see Brandon Workman on this podcast? Anyway, the Phillies finally had enough of Vince Velasquez in September of 2021, designating him for assignment. He then signed a minor league deal with the Padres in September, only pitching 4 games, 12 and 2/3 to an 8.53 ERA. He then, in the 2022 offseason, signed a 1-year, $3 million deal with the Chicago White Sox, 27 games, 9 starts, 75 and 1/3 to a 4.78 ERA. Then signed a 1-year deal with the Pittsburgh Pirates, 8 games, 37 and 1/3 to a 3.86 ERA. So he was pretty good for the Pittsburgh Pirates. However, he had a tear in his UCL that required surgery, and he got that surgery in June. So we probably won't see him until this time next year. Unfortunately, I never want to see players get injured, especially for long periods of time. So I hope Vince Velasquez pitches again in the major leagues for his sake. So that is Vinny Velo, baby. Vinny Velo. My next guy spent a brief stint with the Phillies, and in his first start, manager Gabe Kapler compared him to Cliff Lee. I, of course, am talking about World Series champion Drew Smyly. Drew Smyly was drafted by the Tigers in the second round of 2010 MLB draft, has a cutter, curveball, sinker, made his major league debut April 12th, 2012, spent 2012 to 2014 with the Detroit Tigers, 107 games, 36 starts, 280 and 2/3 to a 3.53 ERA, and in the postseason, 10 games, 7 innings to a 2.57 ERA. So not bad for Mr. Smyly. He then was traded at the deadline in 2014 to the Tampa Bay Rays. The Rays got Drew Smyly, Willie Adames, the aforementioned Willie Adames, Nick Franklin. Seattle got Austin Jackson, and Detroit got David Price. Spent 2014 to 2016 with the Tampa Bay Rays, 49 games, 289 and two-thirds innings to a 3.95 ERA. He then was traded to the Seattle Mariners in 2017. The Mariners got Drew Smyly. The Rays got Malik Smith, Ryan Yarbrough, and Carlos Vargas. Never pitched for the Seattle Mariners. He began the season on the IL, and then he needed Tommy John surgery. He then signed a 2-year deal worth $10 million with the Chicago Cubs in the 2017 offseason. So the first year was complete rehab from his Tommy John and only made one appearance for the Cubs minor league Class A affiliate in a rehab stint. He then was traded to the Texas Rangers in the 2018 offseason for a player to be named later. Spent 2018 with the Rangers, 13 games, 9 starts, 5 1/3 to an 8.42 ERA. He was DFA'd in June. Signed a minor league contract with the Milwaukee Brewers in June of 2019, 3 games, 12 2/3 to a 4.97 ERA. He elected free agency. He elected free agency after that minor league deal. He opted out. He then signed a major league deal with the Phillies in July of 2019, 12 games, 62 2/3 to a 4.45 ERA. And the infamous after the Pirates start, Gabe Kapler called him Cliff Lee, and that was the kiss of death for Drew Smyly. Wasn't bad for the Phils, just not the guy you need, because he was behind, like, God, what we had: Aaron Nola, Arrieta, Smyly, Jason Vargas was in that rotation, Pavetta. I feel like I'm missing somebody who was making starts at that. Vince Velasquez, but not the guy you want. He then signed a 1-year deal with the Giants in 2020, 7 games, 5 starts, 26 1/3 to a 4.42 ERA. Then signed a 1-year, $11 million deal with the Atlanta Braves, 29 games, 23 starts, 126 2/3 to a 4.48 ERA. In the postseason, 3 games, 7 1/3, 5 earned runs to a 6.34 ERA. 2021 World Series champion with the Atlanta Braves. He left in free agency, then went back to Chicago. He signed 2 separate deals, signed a 1-year, $4.25 million deal, and then signed a 2-year, $19 million deal with the Cubs. And then currently 51 games, 44 starts, 232 2/3 to a 4.45 ERA, and going for Drew Smyly. A lot of these guys that I talk about in this series are not currently active. So Drew Smyly is one of them. And I guess Vince Velasquez, but for the time being, he's on the shelf. But yeah, that's Cliff. Excuse me, Drew Smyly. Yeah, I loathe Drew Smyly starts as a Phil. My next guy only made a few starts. Was not very good. I would loathe him entirely. Had a cool name though. B.J. Rosenberg. I bet that's a name you didn't think you'd hear today. Mr. Rosenberg was drafted by the Phils in the 13th round, 2008 MLB draft. I looked for his pitch arsenal on Baseball Savant and like 3 other websites. Couldn't find it anywhere. Could not find what this guy threw at all. Made his major league debut June 9, 2012. Spent 2012 to 2014 with the Phils. 57 games, 14 starts, 56 2/3 to a 5.72 ERA. So not good. He was outright in October of 2014, signed a minor league deal with the LA Dodgers, then was released and never pitched in baseball again. And he is currently the assistant athletic director at Winmere Prep School since 2015. So there's BJ Rosenberg for you, everybody. Again, a name I doubt many of you thought you'd hear tonight, but service. A service. So now we have the series preview against the San Diego Padres, a 3-gamer. We have Taijuan Walker versus Rich Hill, Michael Lorenzen versus Pedro Avila, and Zach Wheeler versus Michael Wacha. Just win the damn series. This team is not that good. I don't know how, but they're not. Luckily, they miss Blake Snell. They don't miss Michael Wacha, though. So winning the first 2 games of the series is pretty important because Wacha has pitched way beyond my expectations, and I think a lot of baseball fans' expectations this season. But I think that'll be the game to watch, is the Wheeler Wacha game. I feel like that's going to be a classic pitcher's duel. Walker looks to continue to build off of his last start. He wasn't great, but he wasn't bad. Lorenzen looks to bounce back in his to get back to his form when he first joined the Phillies. He's been not that great since. So that'll do it for me. I will be back on Wednesday, 100%. And if you guys want, you can read up on the series preview against the Padres. You can read up on the final game of the Brewers series that are all in the new blog that is down below in the description. But feel free to like, subscribe, follow all of the socials down below, and check out the new blog. As you know, we slowly build it into our own little thing and make it not look like a toddler made it. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next one. See you.